Welcome to Financial Confidence for High-Achieving Women, the go-to podcast for women of color entrepreneurs overwhelmed by their finances and ready to transform their money mindset, take control of their money, and build sustainable wealth. I'm your host, Taryn, better known as T-Money, certified financial coach and CEO of Money Honey LLC. I believe that abundance is your birthright and that good money management doesn't mean cutting out the joy from your life. Stick around to learn how you can build intentional money habits that align with your biggest lifestyle goals. Let's get into today's episode. Welcome to episode 24 of the Financial Confidence for High Achieving Women podcast. I'm your host, Taryn, better known as T-Money. And if you're listening to this podcast, chances are you're already excelling in your career or business. But here's what I've noticed working with hundreds of high achieving women. You can have the perfect budget, the most sophisticated investment portfolio, and even every financial app downloaded on your phone. But if you haven't done the deeper work on your money mindset, you're building your wealth on shaky ground. I see it all the time. Brilliant women who negotiate million-dollar deals at work, but freeze up when it comes to asking for a raise. Women who can analyze market trends, but sabotage their own investment accounts with emotional decisions. Women who earn six figures, but still feel guilty every time they spend money on themselves. Sound familiar? Here's the truth that took me years to learn. Your spreadsheets matter, your investment strategy matters, your debt payoff plan matters, but none of it will stick if you don't address what's happening between your ears at the same time. Today, I'm going to share why traditional financial advice fails most people, tell you the personal story of how my own financial confidence finally clicked once I incorporated mindset work, and give you a concrete action step you can take this week to start building that unshakable financial foundation. But here's what I know about you. You didn't get where you are by accident. You have what it takes to build real, sustainable wealth. But first, we need to make sure your internal operating system is set up for success. Let's dive in. But before we do, I, of course, want to tell you that if you are ready to take control of your finances like the rich bitch you are, I invite you to book a 90-minute Organize Your Money Honey intensive with me. You'll walk away with a clear financial plan, a budget you'll actually stick to, and actionable steps to start saving and investing faster. Head to the link in the show notes to book your spot. So why traditional financial advice fails most people is because it focuses solely on the mechanics. So the budgets, the spreadsheets, the investment accounts, basically all the numbers, right? Without addressing the underlying beliefs that create a cycle of starting and stopping, otherwise known as the feast and famine cycle. And this, if you've been in my world for a while, then I'm real passionate about this part, because if all you needed was the numbers and the spreadsheet and the how-to, you would have already done it. You would already be a millionaire. It would already be done, right? But there is so much that is under how we actually operate with money. There's so much driving that, and that's really our beliefs. Our actions come as a result of our thoughts. Our thoughts are there because of our beliefs, okay? So that whole process, if you don't address what's at the root, then you're not going to really make the sustainable change. And here's the deal. As high achievers, we know what to do, okay? Like, you give us the step by step, you give us the list, like, we got it, right? And the issue is that we are not able to sustain it. And it's how you can really, outside of just the money part, you can end up very frustrated at the lack of progress you could be making, or, just feel like you're not there fast enough. I'm sure we've all had that feeling. I know I have. And that's because the subconscious programming is fighting against your goals. It's fighting against your conscious goals. So if you keep setting up, yourself to pay off debt in a certain amount of time, and then you do it and you find yourself back in debt again, there's something under that we got to dive into, to unpack, to reprogram so that way you can make decisions that will not like get you back into that same spot. Okay. And it's the same thing. Like you could be working towards a particular income level in your business. Maybe you're, shooting for the 7-figure business, and it just feels like you keep hanging out at 500,000, right? And you're like, oh, how do I get past here? We've been here at the same spot. And I promise you, there's some under that. There's a belief that is driving that is keeping you at that spot. It's keeping you at that level. And, we probably all know some of the common money beliefs they're a bit limiting, right? So like money is the root of all evil. My thing with that one, like that quote is much longer. Okay. Like it does not just stop there. So in your spare time, go read the full quote. Secondly, rich people are greedy. That is something that when I talk about the language of money, and I talk about that in a previous podcast episode, is episode 6. So if you want to check that out. The other one is like, I'm bad with money, right? When we keep saying that, when we say a lot of these things that really block our abundance, we are creating more and looking for more evidence of that situation. And so if you keep saying that you're bad with money, it's, look, we gon' just go ahead and say it, okay? When you say you're bad with money, it's really an excuse for not learning how money works, for not actually applying yourself to better understand your finances, and it's a reason to avoid looking at them in the first place. Yeah, I said it. Okay. Like you're not actually bad with it. There's a couple of things, right? It's either you're avoiding it, and usually you're avoiding it because there's fear there, right? There's fear that you're going to mess it up. There is fear that you might lose almost everything. And the truth there is that there's some education that can happen to help you to feel more confident about your finances. But also, again, we want to start replacing those thoughts, those limiting beliefs that we have around money with more positive ones, but not even just that, like more beliefs that are actually going to support the life that you want to create. And so it's something I work with my clients on all the time. Like they will tell you that we'll be in the middle of a call and they'll say something and I'm like, wait, pause. Before we go any further, let's address what you just said there, right? And sometimes we can't catch it because maybe it's something we say all the time, right? And so that's something my clients always love to love to bring up. They're like, you caught what I said this one thing about how bad I am at investing. And I'm like, yeah, because you're not bad at it. We just got, some improvements to make. A little bit about my personal journey with the mindset part. And you guys, like I really true high achiever fashion, I was like, I don't need to do that. Like just give me the how to in terms of where do I need to open the account? How do I need to organize it? What do I need to pay? Like, just kind of give me the stuff, right? That ended up leading to a feast or famine cycle for me. So once I knew how to quote unquote manage money, I was like, okay, I now have more money available to me, but then I was also spending it. And then I would get more money and then I would spend it. And so like it just kept going back and forth in that way. And so it was a conflicting feeling and it was annoying, like annoying because even though I was like, okay, I'm starting to get it. I'm starting to get the hang of it. Things are starting to happen. I'm starting to make more money. I'm feeling the improvements. It's all going well, right? Like I started to feel that way. And then at the same time, when I would make a spending decision that would not pan out or that would just, bring me back into the stress of having to get more money again, I'd just be so mad at myself, right? And when you start beating yourself up, is never a good look. I was just like, how do you keep ending up in this spot, girl? Like, how are we here? Like, we figured this out. What is it that kept making that led you to keep making those decisions? I'll tell you all the time, like, the moment that really changed things for me is I was reading Secret of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. They have the mindset stuff at the end of every chapter. Also want to say, if you're going to read that book, the like reading the physical book or like on your Kindle is a better experience than the audiobook, I must say. When I finally did the mindset prompts in that book, it started to really open my eyes to what was driving my money habits and what was driving that whole feast or famine mentality and just the decisions that I was making. That's when it really started to inspire me to do more mindset work and do more work on myself. You know, we talk about the work, right? So that is really what started that journey for me. That's how I started, saying affirmations and, really repeating that to rewire some of the things happening mentally for me. I started journaling. And I must say, I was the person who initially when I was journaling, I would open that thing and I'm like, what am I supposed to write here? Like, what's really about to happen? And so I recommend the journals with the prompts if you're just getting started because it's going to make it a lot easier. But I started journaling, okay? And then I also, started doing some somatic work and I started to do some belief work with coaches that I was working with. And those things all really helped to shift my mindset and not just the mindset, but also helped me to create more belief in myself. And maybe it's not even create, maybe it is reconnect with the belief in myself, right? We don't come out the womb like not believing in ourselves. We don't even really learn that until later. And so that is, how it really started to change for me. And that is when I found myself making money and actually keeping it. I found myself investing the money and the investments were working out. Now, of course, nothing is perfect. Okay. There are definitely some things that did not pan out. And we make mistakes along the way, right? It wasn't a perfect trajectory. It wasn't like I did some of the mindset work and then all of a sudden it happened and everything was great. I tell my clients this all the time. Like it's okay to make those mistakes. It's okay to, kind of fall off a little bit. It's really just about how often you are willing to get back on track and, get back on it no matter what it looks like. Like it can happen for you and it's the consistency is not just in doing something every single day. It is in consistently getting back up when you feel like you've been knocked down. It is, consistently at least putting the thought process in there of making the choice and then, making it every once in a while. That is going to really shift things for your internal landscape and just for your life. And as I started to have more of the money, as I started to see my savings increase, as I started to see my credit score get better, as I started to see my investments go up, I was like, okay, maybe a girl really knows what she's doing. Maybe it is happening, right? And I also was reinforcing at the same time. Like I was writing what I was grateful for every day. I was like really pointing out the things that went well and where I made good decisions. And I was celebrating myself for that. I love a good, a good dance break to, celebrate what's happening. And those are the things I started to do to reinforce these new beliefs that I was taking on. And I also wasn't taking them all on at the same time. Like we was working one by one. And that really, that has helped. And even some financial, like some hypnotherapy, also something that has been helpful as of late, even as I've continued to reinforce and dive even deeper into a lot of the work that I'm doing with money and as our wealth continues to grow, like that's something that's been really helpful. And even, just going to my therapist regularly has been good too. When I was going through some of the income dip stuff, like I connected with her and we worked through, how I was carrying that in my body and what else was showing up in terms of how I was thinking and approaching that. And I worked with one of my coaches on that too. So like all of this stuff really helps to enforce the mindset and it helps to create some sustainability. That is where the wealth building really happens. It's not like a wealth building and then, like, oh, now I got to stress and build it back up again. Like the more that you do this work, the more you really get out of the stress of it all, the consistent, constant stress of it all, and into like the empowered decision making. And so the last thing that I want to talk about too is the mindset action loop that really creates the lasting change. So it's mindset and action working together that reinforce the cycle. If you are new to Manifest Money Honey and everything that we do in my company, it is like my methodology as a coach is focused on bringing the two together. I'm not going to just talk about numbers and spreadsheets all day. I'm not going to just talk about mindset all day. We're bringing them together. And that's what I don't always see in the personal finance space or just even in the finance space in general. They just want to focus on the numbers all the time. But I really bring in the habits portion of it because that is how it sustains. That is how you create the lasting change. Good mindset work without action just creates some delusion. Like you're just out there delusional and being like, yeah, it's all happening without actually doing anything, right? Even if you're manifesting, okay, like there's some action that goes behind the manifestation. And on the other side, action without mindset creates burnout and backsliding. Just like I told you in my story, like I was doing it and then it wasn't happening. Just like the ups and downs, the financial, emotional roller coaster, like when you have the action, but you're not actually, backing it up with the mindset, you're all over the place. And when you make these small mindset shifts, right? When it's something, one of the first ones that that I made when I was broke was that, I would start saying that I'm temporarily out of funds. I would not say the word broke at all. It was just, do I have money for that? I am temporarily out of funds because, and the more I said it, the more I really believed that like it was temporary. I'm about to get more money tomorrow. That's how it started to feel. At first I felt crazy saying it like, girl, just say you like, it's desolate out here. I don't know. But, but I did it. I said that I'm temporarily out of funds. And that small mindset shift really started to bring more money my way consistently. And I really believed that it was just a temporary moment. And it wasn't something to get so caught up in and that would never happen again. And so that was it. The other part was like when I started to make decisions on what to invest in, especially when it came to like personal growth and development, I was like, okay, what do I feel like I'm going to get out of the other side of this? And if it felt like this is really going to take me to the next level, if this felt like something I was really working for and like just working towards in general, then I felt better about making that decision. And even like just knowing that the small mindset shift in that was like, I'm going to get something out of this regardless. Like it's going to grow me and stretch me regardless. There's going to be something that I receive no matter what, right? And even the one that I say now all the time is like, everything is working in my favor. What is for me will never miss me. Period. Like it's not, so if something doesn't work out or if, they find somebody else for a speaking engagement or like, a client decides to delay or they decide to not sign up when you, have a call, that's fine. What's for me is not going to miss me. So either they come back later or they don't, and I just wasn't the one for them. And all of that is okay because everything is ultimately working in your favor. Those mindset shifts really led to the actions of bringing more abundance and more money my way, of the gratitude of like even that part about being temporarily out of funds. Since it was temporary, I started to not get caught up in the emotion of it all. And I started to figure out, okay, how can I afford this? Not can I, but how can I? What do I need to do? Where do I need to be? What is something that I need to focus on? Where do I need to give? Like things like that. That builds the evidence for the new beliefs. And that also starts to enable some bigger actions. The more that you make those small actions, those small shifts, the more you are preparing yourself for bigger actions, which then creates an upward spiral towards your financial confidence and sustainable wealth. So, as we wrap it on up today, the big thing with this is that traditional financial advice is going to fail most people because it focuses only on the mechanics. We combined the mechanics with the mindset, so that way it's a financial wellness. That way you are having a healthy relationship with money. The next thing is, I told you my story about how I really went from financial anxiety to building wealth. And I did that because I decided to finally do the mindset work, because I decided to stop playing and get some accountability and work with a professional. So that way I could, have somebody point out some of my blind spots in terms of my beliefs and then also hold the belief for me. That's so important. And that's the thing that I love to do with my clients is you're building the belief. I like to be that person who is there to not only lead you to your best version of yourself, but also hold the belief that it's possible. One of the main things that my clients say after a call is that I have hope. Like, I know that it's possible for things to get better. I know that it's possible for me to be really good with money. Like, even in the situations where they felt like there was no solution, we always find one. There's always a solution. And the last thing is, when you pair mindset and action together, when you pair the mindset and the numbers together when it comes to the money, and you create those new beliefs and you back those up with small actions, that's how the financial confidence and sustainable wealth happens. So, we always have an action step. So today, I want you to write down your earliest money memory and identify what belief it created about money or your relationship with it. And then write one small action you can take this week that would provide evidence against the limiting belief. Because as I just said, this is what bridges the mindset work with the concrete action and leads to financial confidence. So, if you do want support and you are like, okay, I want to really understand what some of my limiting beliefs are, and I also want to understand my numbers, then book that Organize Your Money Honey session at the link in the show notes. And in the next couple of episodes, we have how to set your financial boundaries and transitioning from survival mode to wealth mode. I will catch you in the next episode. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Financial Confidence for High Achieving Women podcast. I hope the insights shared in this episode have inspired you to take one small action step toward a more empowered relationship with money. If you're ready to take control of your finances like the rich bitch you are, I invite you to book a 90-minute Organize Your Money Honey intensive with me. You'll walk away with a crystal clear financial plan, a budget you'll actually stick to, and actionable steps to start saving and investing faster. Head to the link in the show notes to book your spot. I'm so grateful to be part of your financial journey, and I can't wait to see all the incredible moves you'll make. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you in the next episode.